Welcome back to the Cynthia Clark Book Club. We are reading Chapter 4 of The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. The name of Chapter 4 is The First Principle in the Science of Getting Rich. If you would like a free copy of this book, you can go to my website. The best way to get to my website is to do a Google search, Cynthia Clark Book Club. And it's going to bring up my Facebook page first. And if we are not Facebook friends, I would like to be your Facebook friend, and you can send me a friend request. Once you get to the Google search, the first thing that comes up, of course, is the Facebook. Then you're going to see some YouTube videos. Then it's going to take you to a link where you can go to my website, which is done through Wix. So anyway, you click on the website, and on the home page, if you click on the image of the book, it will actually allow you to get a free PDF download of the book. And it's okay for us to read this book for free because it's actually in the public domain, which means it's public property. So anyway, this is how the book club works. I am basically going to post this video, of course, in YouTube. I'm going to post it or as a status on my Facebook page. And if there's anything in the book or anything in any of the videos any of the videos pretty much that you want to post a comment about, you can post your comment and then we can have a conversation. Otherwise, I'll just do one of my favorite things, which is to read books. And I like to read them into this webcam because it's very therapeutic. So anyway, we're going to get right into the book, The First Principle in the Science of Getting Rich. So maybe we'll finally hear what this certain thing is that the author keeps talking about in Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3. So let's get started. Here we go. Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks, and a thought of form in this substance produces the form. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in original substance. So someone thought up everything you see and everything you possibly are. As the formless stuff thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it makes that motion. That is the way all things were created. When I think about like what I'm wearing, this is actually my daughter's little jacket. Someone thought of it before it was created. It was a thought before it became physical. And according to this author, and I believe him, that's how all things, including us people, well, I'll speak from my own place. That's how I was made. So let's keep going. We live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. The thought of a moving universe extended throughout formless substance. And the thinking stuff moving according to that thought took the form of systems of planets and maintains that form. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought. Holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds, it takes the form of these bodies and moves them as it thinks. So he's saying someone thought up the universe or the solar systems where stars and suns were developed. Let's keep going. Thinking the form of a slow-growing oak tree. It moves accordingly and produces the tree, though centuries may be required to do the work. In creating the formless, let me say this again. In creating, the formless seems to move according to the lines of motion it has established. In other words, the thought of an oak tree does not cause the instant formation of a full-grown tree, but it does start in motion the forces which will produce the tree along established lines of growth. I just posted something on Facebook yesterday about the kind of loft that I like. And when I came to Chicago, I started looking at lofts. Or when I came back to Chicago, I started looking at lofts, and they were beautiful. But they weren't the kind of lofts I kind of had in my mind. And so years passed, and I went with a friend over someone's house, not knowing like where they lived or how they lived. And when I walked into this chick's house, it was a loft, and it was like exactly the kind of loft that I like, right? And when I found out that development had been done years after I decided that I wanted a loft and decided what kind of loft I wanted. So when I did my Facebook post, I said that my thoughts created or helped in the creation of the development of that loft. I wanted a loft like that so bad that my thoughts were and my desire was so damn strong that it impelled other men and women to make it. So anyway, let's keep going. Every thought of form held in thinking substance causes the creation of the form, but always, or at least generally, along lines of growth and action already established. Every time they talk about this substance, I keep thinking about I think about clay, and then I think about the Force from Star Wars. Let's keep going. The thought of a house of a certain construction, if it were impressed upon formless substance, might not cause the instant formation of the house, but it would cause the turning of creative energies already working in trade and commerce. Come on, damn it. Such channels as to result in the speedy building of the house. In my case, the loft. I had this image of this loft in my mind for all this time that it caused the creation of, it set things in motion to cause the creation of my loft. Now, I'm always thinking about being in my loft. I have a studio in my loft. I'm not there yet, I'm just saying. This is my imagination. I have a studio in my loft where I record YouTube videos, I sing, I sew, and I see myself functioning in my loft. So what's going to happen now, the thought of me being in the loft all the time is going to set things in motion to get me in the damn thing. So let's keep going. Such channels as to result, okay, let's keep going. And if there were no existing channels through which the creative energy could work, then the house will be formed directly from primal substance without waiting for the slow process of the organic or inorganic world. I gotta read that again. And if there were no existing channels through which the creative energy could work, then the house will be formed directly from primal substance without waiting for the slow processes of the organic or inorganic world. Is he saying that it would just kind of like poof be created like that? Who knows? Let's keep going. No thought of form can be pressed upon original substance without causing the creation of the form. So you can't think on something long enough and it not come into manifestation. I'm talking about good shit or bad shit. Some people focus on bad shit so damn long that it just comes to them because they're focused on it. So if this shit is true that he's talking about, that there's this force or this substance that we plant these thoughts into that bring it about, if that's true, then we might want to think about what we think about. Let's keep going. A person is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that a person fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. I gotta read that again using the female principle. A person is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that a person fashions with her hands must first exist in her thought. So what I'm thinking about now is making a purse. Me and my daughter made a purse for her, and so I have this vision of what kind of purse I want. It's like black and gray, and I can see it, right? She cannot shape a thing until she has thought that thing. Think about, I know it's Willis Tower, I still call it Sears Tower, but think about Trump Tower, Chicago. Donald Trump thought about what the hell he wanted that building to look like, first of all. Then the architects and all that other stuff, but that motherfucker thought about that shit first. Thought is powerful. It's like the first step. It sets the shit in motion. Anyway, keep going. So far, humankind has confined its efforts wholly to the work of its hands, applying manual labor to the world of forms and seeking to change or modify those already existing. Humankind has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by impressing thought upon substance. A friend of mine posted this video about how thoughts can affect the growth of rice, not so much the growth of it. And so they had these two jars, and one jar had rice and water, and the other one had rice and water, and one jar they kept talking negative shit to the jar. And then in the second jar, they would say how they loved it and shit. The first jar is like they hated it, and the second jar, like every day they, talk to the jar. And the jar that they said they hated started getting the rice started getting all black and moldy and shit. And then the other one was hardly like decaying, even though it was the same time frame. So anyway, let's keep going. When a person has a thought form, he takes material from the forms of nature and makes an image of the form which is in his mind. People have so far made little or no effort to cooperate with formless intelligence, to work with the father, or what I would say, work with the mother or father. The individual has not dreamed that he or she can do what he seeth the father doing. An individual reshapes and modifies existing forms by manual labor and has given no attention to the question of whether he or she may produce things from formless substance by communicating his thoughts to it. We propose to prove that he or she may do so, to prove that any man or woman may do so, and to show how. As our first step, we must lay down 3 fundamental propositions. First, we must assert that there is one original formless stuff or substance from which all things are made. All the seemingly many elements are but different presentations of one element. All the many forms found in organic or inorganic nature are but different shapes made from the same stuff. And of course, in my mind, I see this clay, or I think about the Force from Star Wars. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. So if I keep thinking about this damn purse, this black and white, no, black and gray fabric. I see the strap and all. If I keep thinking about it, then things will be brought into action where I actually make it. I'll maybe see the fabric somewhere. Anyway, keep going. Let me read that again. All the many forms found in organic or inorganic nature are but different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. Thought in thinking substance produces shapes. A human being is a thinking center capable of original thought. If a person can communicate his or her thoughts to original thinking substance, he can cause the creation or formation of the thing he thinks about. If you can communicate, if I can communicate my thoughts to the original substance, then I can cause the creation or formation of the thing that I think about, the loft. To summarize, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. And when I think of the thought, it's like a seed planted in this stuff. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. It may be asked if I can prove these statements, and without going into detail, I answer that I can do so, both by logic and experience. Reasoning back from the phenomenon of form and thought, I come to one original thinking substance. And reasoning forward from this thinking substance, I come to a person's power to cause the formation of the thing he thinks about. And by experiment, I find the reasoning true. This is my strongest proof. If one person who reads this book gets rich by doing what it tells him to do, that is evidence in support of my claim. But if every person who does what it tells him to do gets rich, that is positive proof until someone goes through the process and fails. The theory is true until the process fails, and this process will not fail. For everyone who does exactly what this book tells him to do will get rich. I have said that people get rich by doing things in a certain way. And in order to do so, people must be able to think in a certain way. A person's way of doing things is the direct result of the way he thinks about things. To do things in the way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step towards getting rich. Okay, so remember he talks about doing things in a certain way and all of that. There it is. The first step to getting rich is to do things in the way you want to do things. To do things in the way that you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. That's the first step. Acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. That is one of the reasons why I went from a circle to no circle, because I needed to start over. And now I'm building my circle again. I can't have too many of the wrong thoughts in my personal universe, because I have to have the ability to think the way that I want to think. So if I have too many people in my personal universe that think in a way that is contrary to the way I need to think in order to reach my goals and dreams, then I'm fucking up, okay? And so the first step for me is to think the way I want to think. That's the first step to getting rich. Anyway, I said that when the things start coming up, I was going to emphasize, and I think I did. Okay, so, and to think what you want to think is to think truth regardless of appearance. So I don't give a freak what it looked like currently in your current situation. You got to be able to think about how you want it to look. Let's keep going. Every individual has the natural and inherent power to think what he or she wants to think, but it requires far more effort. It requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances. To think according to appearances is easy. To think truth regardless of appearance is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work we are called upon to perform. And when I read that, it makes me think of the fact that you may, for me, let's just say me, everything in my current environment is not the way that I want it to be. But if I focus on that as opposed to focusing on what I desire, then the energy from what is will pull me down. It's like crabs in a bucket. Crabs in a bucket is not just the people, it's thoughts. So where I'm in a bucket, and it may be a nice ass bucket, and I might be grateful for that motherfucking bucket, but I want to be in the loft. So I need to allow my mind to go there. Some people won't allow their minds to be in the loft because it may be crazy to think about being in the loft when you're really in the bucket. But you got to be like, you got to allow yourself to be crazy enough to fuck the fact that you're in a bucket and allow your mind to think about being in the loft. Anyway, let's keep going. To think according to appearances is easy. To think truth regardless of appearance is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work we are called to perform. There is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It is the hardest work in the world. This is especially true when truth is contrary to appearance. Every appearance in the visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind which observes it. And this can only be prevented by holding the thought of the truth. And the truth is, I live in a beautiful fucking loft, and I have an awesome studio where I sew and I write on the computer and I record YouTube videos and I sing. Let's keep going. That's the truth right there. Okay, so I love this chapter. This is one of the best chapters. To look upon the appearance of poverty will produce corresponding forms in your own mind unless you hold the truth that there is no poverty. There is only abundance. When I read that, it makes me think about the movie The Matrix with Neo, and he went to see the Oracle, and she was training the gifted children, and one of the gifted children had a spoon, and he said, the thing is, what you got to remember is there is no spoon. And then he was able to bend the spoon because there is no spoon. So anyway, let me read that again. To look upon the appearance of poverty will produce corresponding forms in your own mind unless you hold to the truth that there is no poverty. There is only abundance. To think health. To think health when surrounded by the appearance of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of the appearance of poverty requires power. But whoever acquires this power becomes a mastermind, that person can conquer fate and can have what he wants. Ooh, I'm going to read that again. That person can conquer fate and can have what she wants. The power can only be acquired by getting hold of the basic fact which is behind all appearance. And that fact is that there is one thinking substance from which all things are made. And again, when I think about that substance, I think about clay that I can mold to what I want. And I also think about the Force in Star Wars. Then we must grasp the truth. Then we must grasp the truth that every thought held in this substance becomes a form, and that a person can so impress his or her thoughts upon it as to cause them to form and become physical things. This book is for people that believe in the power of their mind, that believe that it's not just some massive freaking scrambled egg looking, gray scrambled egg looking stuff. You got to believe in the power of this thing that's in your membrane. Anyway, in your cranium. Anyway, when we realize this, we lose all doubt and fear. For we know that we can create what we want to create. We can get what the hell we want to have and can become what we want to be. As a first step toward getting rich, you must believe the 3 fundamental statements given previously in this chapter. And in order to emphasize them, I will repeat them here. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. A person who can form things in his or her thought, and by impressing her thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing she thinks about to be created. You must lay aside all other concepts of the universe and must dwell upon this until it is fixed in your mind and has become your habitual thought. Read these statements over and over again. Fix every word upon your memory and meditate upon them until you firmly believe what they say. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. If someone doesn't believe what I believe, may their God bless them. But as far as how I take what they think in contrast to what I believe, I could give a freak, because it's gonna pull me back in the bucket. And I don't live in a bucket, I live in a loft. Anyway, let's keep going. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to churches or lectures where a contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Ooh, that's why on my Facebook page, look, that's why I love Facebook. You come from your perspective. I learned that from this group called The Marketplace, which I love. You come from your perspective and allow other people to come from their perspective. You guys want to have a conversation about it, that's cool, but I'm not about to argue with your ass about it. So on my Facebook page, I propagate my belief shit like this. And on your Facebook page, you can propagate whatever the hell you want to. And I may make a comment, but I'm not going to argue with you about what you posted on your Facebook page. That's your belief. You have the right. And whoever posts on Facebook becomes the administrator of that post. And I respect that. But please don't think you come on my Facebook page and like bully me with your fucking beliefs. We can talk about it, but when you start trying to make my beliefs wrong and yours right on my Facebook page. Anyway, let's keep going. It says, do not read magazines or books which teach a different idea. If you get mixed up in your understanding, belief, and faith, all your efforts will be in vain. I found that to be true. Listen, you get a understanding of something, it resonates with you. You talk to somebody else about it, it doesn't resonate with them, and then they want to tell you that they're waiting. It's like it just gets all fucked up in your system. Love them and let them be, but do not let them, don't even talk to them about shit like this. There's some people in my life right today, I love them, but I ain't gonna talk to them about this kind of shit if they are bringing contrary things to me. I love them, but I gotta get out the bucket. You know, their thoughts keep me in the bucket, so I gotta let them and their thoughts go, and I need to stay up in the clouds. Let's keep going. If you get mixed up in your understanding, belief, and faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, nor speculate as how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this. Okay, that was chapter 4, and each chapter has these little like bullet points, so I'm going to go ahead and read them, and then we're done. It says here, we live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. So, can't underestimate the power of your thoughts. Let me say this. I've never said this, but let's say that you have a child, and you didn't want that child, you don't want that child, and you always talk about or think about, you know, why did I have this kid and all that other stuff. If you allow that seed to keep haunting your thoughts, if you keep nurturing that thought, the universe will find a way to get rid of that child. You will do something stupid to where the people come and take the child. You will do something to the child and they could die. If you allow, those thoughts are powerful as hell. They set shit in motion. And so you got to be careful what you think about all the time. Then not only that, if you voice those stupid ass thoughts, you give voice to it and let it come out your mouth, oh shit, man. Anyway, let's see what this next thing says. All the forms that a person fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. You can't shape things without thinking. I think you can just take some clay and just do any damn thing, abstract, just throw some shit around, which is cool. You can create some beautiful things like that. But conscious, deliberate creating, you think about it first. Maybe you think about a little jacket with some diamonds and some little fur. Whoever thought of this little thing. And then you make it. Anyway, let's keep going. Here's another little bullet point they have. A person's way of doing things is a direct result of the way he thinks about things. So the things, like for me and even my daughter, the things that she really enjoys or the things she's really passionate about, she'll do it well. The shit she don't care about, she doesn't care about. She doesn't do it well. A person's way of doing things is in the direct result of the way he or she thinks about things. Let's keep going. I think this is the last bullet point. When we realize this, we lose all doubt and fear. For we know that we can create what we want to create. We can get what we want to have and can become what we want to be. If more people believe this, then they wouldn't be talking all that shit about why they can't get something, or talking shit about people that have, talking down about people that have gotten maybe something that they want. If they believe this, When we realize this, we lose all doubt and fear, for we know that we can create what we want to create, we can get what we want to have, and we can become what we want to be. That's why you don't hear me like talking a whole bunch of shit about what some damn body else got. Shit, I can learn how to get that shit too. Anyway, that is the end of chapter 4. If there's something in this chapter, or if you already read the whole book, or something in the book that you want to talk about, you can you can post a comment on Facebook and we can have a conversation. You can go to my website and kind of see what's there. I keep updating it based on what's what's going on. And again, the website is it's pretty much the Cynthia Clark Book Club, but the best way to get there is to do a Google search and then go down past the YouTube videos and click on the website. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and record chapter 5. Again, go to my website. If you are a YouTube subscriber and you have an account with YouTube, then I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. You can launch this video. If you're watching it on Facebook, you can launch it in YouTube. Just hit YouTube, it'll launch it there. And you can subscribe to my channel. And if your YouTube channel is public, I'll subscribe to you as well. In the description section of the YouTube video, if you launch it into YouTube and watch it in YouTube, then there's a link to my website, which makes it easy for you to get there. And then also, if you're watching this in YouTube and we're not Facebook friends, I would love to be your Facebook friend, so you can send me a friend request. I accept all my friend requests. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.